it is difficult. I can see how people would get defensive about, I didn't have slaves. I have not actively participated. I am a part of a system that was built through racism, but
man, he's just giving it all away here.
Right.
I'm part of a system that was built by racism. No, you fucking moron. You were abducted into a fucking cult, Jon Stewart. That's not reality. That's their assumption about the world. God, it's so infuriating when he yells at Andrew Sullivan about living on a different planet. You're the one living on a different planet, dude.
As if everything is already settled. We know this country is, for example, a white supremacy. Well, I don't believe that. I think it's possibly the most absurd hyperbole I've ever heard.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
If we say you're racist, it's a character flaw. I'm bad, and I know I'm not bad. I think I'm a good person. I think I'm a nice person, and
You could lose a little weight, but you know.
Wow.
She's got it. The gloves are coming off, man.
Yeah.
She's calling everyone around her racist. We can talk about her fat ass.
this system of white supremacy has done such a good job of teaching us as white people that racism is bad. And when we talk about race,
Yeah. Isn't that a good thing? You stupid.
Your opening segment
was brilliant. Brilliant. Yes.
Biggest reductionist, one-sided,
Yes.
completely biased position.
Yes. Andrew, you are correct.
When I watched it, I wondered, have you lived in the same country as everybody else for the last 30 years? It was a straw man that you created.
Andrew.
A total straw man.
You can appreciate
in which every white person was bad.
Let me just stop for a
Every
second.
black person had the same position.
I want you guys to know, when I was watching this video myself, I literally paused it every 30 seconds, and I just had to like silently decompress after watching this video.
All right.
So
CT, we'll try and clip this for a supplemental, obviously, because we talked about this last week. And just for those of you, as we're doing the stream, as we're doing the regular Sunday show, they dropped this video. I guess it came out like during the show.
Yes.
Which is so bad because, well, the video we did was a lot of fun, but this is just, I mean.
This is a whole nother level.
Yes.
It's a whole nother level. So let's jump into it.
Obviously, usually in an episode about race, focusing on black issues, you'd want to connect with a Cornel West, a Ta-Nehisi Coates, a Dave Matthews, experts in the field. But I'm going to take Toni Morrison's advice on this. It's time for white people to talk and figure some things out. So tonight I'm speaking to...
Here's your pause so we don't get copyrighted.
Oh, thank you.
I'm going to pause this every 20 seconds, even if we have nothing to say.
Well, I'm just why is Jon Stewart trying to rally white people to his fucking white nationalist cause here? I mean,
because he's totally bought into this whole like, it's time for white people to stand up and deal with themselves and deal with their own white supremacy problem. Only white people are going to solve this. You know, why are we putting the work on the shoulders of black people?
He's basically read too much CRT and it's rotted his brain.
Yes, he's read too much Robin DiAngelo. He has a staff of super woke millennials, and they've all poisoned his brain.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, as white a panelist, I think I could find. I have an Andrew, a Lisa, and a Chip. This panel is bone. It is.
Skip ahead.
Resident.
Why is that so funny?
I don't know.
This Lisa Bond is just so insufferable.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
So I actually looked into these people. The first guy is Charles Chip Gallagher. He's a sociologist professor. And he's written a lot of like super woke CRT-esque. He's not a CRT guy, but like very white studies, white people are the problem, white supremacy is the problem, colorblindness is evil papers. His whole big thing is about why colorblindness is just perpetuating racism. That's his big thing. That's his big claim to fame. And then Lisa Bond is even worse. This lady, this race to dinner thing that she works for, okay, this is the height of woke bullshit, okay? Basically what this company does is that rich white women will pay
Oh my God.
$5,000
What a scam.
a person
What a scam.
to go to some black lady's house, and they'll have dinner with them. And at the course of the dinner, there'll be two black ladies there, and they'll just explain why all the white women who paid $5,000 to be there to eat dinner are all fucking racist.
Wow. How is this not a religion, Sitch? This sounds exactly like a religion.
How much of a moron? How much brain rot? How much oxygen must have been deprived from you in the womb, okay? If you're going to spend $5,000 to go to someone else's house to get them to spit in your face and call you a racist piece of shit.
I bet it's tax deductible. I bet it's a tax deductible contribution.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is, because I'm sure it's some kind of bullshit.
This is the way that they
something.
tithe. They have to tithe. They're like, we have to give 10% of our income for our woke religion. So,
well, that's why I think James Lindsay was right in the money with this is all like Protestant performative religion of
Yes.
I have to make these public acts of contrition to show everyone how woke I am. Like that's where this all stems from. He was right in the money when he called this out on Robin DiAngelo. And that's what's happening here, because it's you have a bunch of rich white ladies who say, I have to show that I'm not a racist by having someone yell at me and call me a racist. It's like saying like, oh, I have to show that I really believe in, the Lord by going to the preacher and them yelling at me and calling me a dirty, dirty, dirty sinner. And then afterwards, I'll be baptized and I'll be cleansed. Like that's what this reeks of.
yeah.
And that's why, John Warder and John McWhorter and Glenn
Lowry
are so right about wokeness is just a religion. It's just a religion.
Yeah.
President white woman for
I'll be honest, Lisa looks like she could do with a little less dinners, okay? I'm just saying.
Are you sure? I bet they have pie at every single one of those dinners.
Race to Dinner, a group that is trying to have better conversations about race in America. And joining remotely, longtime author and columnist Andrew Sullivan.
Look at that. They're like, we got to put Andrew Sullivan in another room so he doesn't get hit by Lisa.
Yeah, and at first I was like, before I knew anything about this clip, I think you sent this to me.
Yeah.
And I just started watching. I'm like, oh, I'm glad Jon Stewart, he's got a conservative on the panel. Some people don't like Sullivan so much because I think he was anti-Trump.
Yeah.
But at least, he's conservative and you have two, lefties, there'll be some pushback.
At least
that's what
he's
I thought
not
going
in the-
into this panel.
Andrew Sullivan is not in the fucking bubble.
No.
He has a good read on the situation. And
Right.
they argue over that. And I'm a little disappointed Andrew Sullivan didn't ask him, where are you getting this information from? Like what is your basis for believing this stuff?
Right.
Is it just the personal experience of the actors that Lisa hired at her dinner?
Right. And, even though I'm 100% on Andrew's side in this conversation, and I think Jon Stewart behaved disgustingly in this conversation towards him, and I don't think Andrew did as good a job as he should have done in this conversation. And I don't know if that's just because he is emotional and completely unprepared for this kind of attack on his character, maybe.
Or even worse, they edited it out because this is fucking edited.
Right.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's edited, but...
editor of the Weekly Dish. Welcome, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. I want to talk about this. Here's what I think holds back our race conversation in America. I think at its core, white people put blame on black people for the position that they are in, and then believe that white people will lose something in order for black people to gain it. And that's what creates that resentment and difficulty to overcome.
So that's a standard progressive narrative.
Right.
White people scared White people have been dominant. They've been the power base, the political power, the economic power for so long, and they're so terrified to share that power with anyone.
Mm-hmm.
They would never vote for a black oh, wait a second. They would never. I don't understand, because like, you have to at least admit that a lot of white people voted for Barack Obama. I don't understand how that's like they like hand wave that away.
Well, yeah.
That's power sharing, is it not?
It's literally the utmost power sharing.
Yes.
Right.
They said this guy can represent us for 8 years.
And remember what he said, and this is very important. He said, I think white people are afraid they're going to have to give up something, whether it be power or money or resources, to black people. And that's the fear that's driving them and preventing them from, engaging in having an equal society along racial lines. Okay. Because remember that, because later in this conversation, Lisa literally says something like that white people need to give up power and money and resources, and there needs to be a revolution. So she's just affirming the fucking fear that Jon Stewart lays out in the beginning, and he doesn't comment on it. He doesn't say, wait a minute, Lisa, you're kind of feeding into the problem I stated in the beginning of the segment. It just totally goes right over his head.
So Jon Stewart is making the argument that they shouldn't be afraid of that, and Lisa's basically saying, no, they should be afraid of that.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And I'll start with Chip, because Chip.
It's Charles. Yeah.
That doesn't help.
No, it doesn't help. Yeah. Okay.
You think he really goes for Chip, or did he just do that for a bit? I think it's just a bit.
I think it's just a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, but
He looks like a stuffy ass Charles to me.
But also like, oh, Charles.
Oh yeah.
Just is that really such a white like fucking name? I don't know. I have no black people named Charles. I never thought of. I mean, Charles Barkley, very famous black person. I never thought of Charles as some like fucking stuffy white name, but maybe that's just me.
Yeah.
A significant amount of white people in the United States of America see race relations through a colorblind lens. And I don't mean that whites don't see race. They see someone that's black or Asian. But they don't in any way attach any meaning to the color in affecting life chances. And what that fundamentally means is that race doesn't matter in getting ahead. It just doesn't matter.
They believe that we are in a race-neutral environment.
The playing field has been leveled, and if you make it or you don't...
It's a meritocracy.
It's a meritocracy, and it's a narrative also that does a lot of things. It makes white privilege invisible, and it also makes whites feel that whatever they did, whatever successes they had nothing to do with what happened 50, 100, 200 years ago.
But you have to look at it as...
So there's this trick. I don't know if it's a trick or if it's just conflicting narratives and just stupidity that happens in left academic fields about colorblindness. Because what he just said, I've read a million papers about, people making this claim. I've heard this. We've all heard this a million times. Colorblindness is bad because then people just think everything's meritocracy in America, and, people who fall through the cracks or have had a history of oppression against them, they need a leg up and they're not going to get it because everyone's colorblind. Okay. Mm-hmm. That narrative, regardless of whether it's true or not, completely is the opposite of what the fuck Jon Stewart just said. You can't simultaneously be colorblind so that you're blind to the plight of non-white people, but also be so afraid of non-white people that you don't want to share power or money with them. Right?
Yeah.
And this drives me crazy because we hear both these stupid fucking narratives from these people. Like, you can't have it both ways. It can't be that colorblindness is going to make people racist blind, but also America's a racist country that's intentionally keeping black people. It can't fucking be both.
Yeah, it has to be one or the other.
It has to be one or the other. And to me, what this reads as is a bunch of leftists who want to destroy, liberal principles of racial equality and liberal civil rights and liberalism in general, who are just coming around trying to destroy the notion of having a colorblind society, who want to go back to black nationalism, race consciousness, black separatism, blah, 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 blah. And they use this bullshit narrative to justify what they're doing.
Well, I always thought of the idea of colorblindness as you know, in the context of hiring, you know, selling your home, there are all these different situations where you don't want to judge people by the color of their skin. You want to, like Martin Luther King, judge them by the content of their character, right? So, how do you get away from, how do you destroy the concept of colorblindness and still keep that situation?
You can't.
You're the employer, you've got half a dozen employees to choose from, but now you're supposed to focus on race.
You literally can't. And people like Jon Stewart, who are supposed to be quote unquote thought leaders, are too stupid to understand what's happening right before their eyes. That colorblindness, at least aspirationally, because liberals have been in favor of affirmative action for decades. It's not like you can't have affirmative action under a liberal system. But Jon Stewart and other liberals are completely blind to the fact that attacking colorblindness is attacking liberalism. It's attacking universal humanism that is like the basis of fucking liberalism, that we're all individuals and we all have our individual rights and we shall be treated the same under law, and don't judge me, you know, for some biological identifier, judge me by the content of my character. And, you know, we hear from the bread tubers, they always get so triggered when people bring up the Martin Luther King Jr. line. There's a reason that line about the I have a dream, you know, about my kids will be treated by the content of their character, not the color of skin. There's a reason that line basically became like the mantra, the sole line to define the civil rights movement, because it resonated with so many people and it resonated with what our country stood for. And now you have these idiots that are coming along and they're destroying that mantra. They're destroying everything our country stood for under this guise of racial equity. And Jon Stewart has his head too far up his own ass to understand what's happening right in front of his eyes.
Right. That's the thing I'm most terrified of losing, because I think the default is bias towards your own kind. So you really have to struggle against that bias culturally. And if you don't have some sort of cultural norm, some sort of, you know, thing that people can point to and say, no, we don't treat people the way my gut is telling me to treat them, but we treat them equally. We don't make snap judgments based on superficial characteristics. What if you throw that away, what cultural force is going to replace it? There is none.
Yeah, exactly. There is none.
Yeah.
There is none. Well, no, what's going to replace it is race
The gut
consciousness.
feeling. Yeah.
Okay, aka race Marxism. That's what's going to replace it. And there are two reasons why, when I read all these stupid academic papers, why they're against colorblindness. First is because they want to usher in race Marxism. The second is even dumber than that. And there's so many papers about this. This is why people as people exists. It's just that a bunch of lefties were triggered because in the 1980s, when they were arguing for affirmative action, Republicans would throw back in their face and say, well, affirmative action isn't colorblind. We're supposed to be colorblind. You told us to be colorblind in the 60s, and now you're saying that we have to have non-colorblind policies? Make up your mind, libtards. And they got so mad at having to like make an argument in favor of affirmative action that they stupidly said we're going to throw colorblind out the window just so we don't have to argue with Republicans and conservatives about this anymore.
Terrible.
It's like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah. Yeah, you can come up with a better argument than that.
Yeah, you can come up with, just because someone is throwing your principles back in your face and making you actually have to think and come up with arguments doesn't mean you throw your principles in the trash can.
Yeah.
Okay, because then that means you don't have any principles.
Yeah, which is terrible.
It is difficult. I can see how people would get defensive about, I didn't have slaves. I have not actively participated. I am a part of a system that was built through racism, but
man, he's just giving it all away here.
Right.
I'm part of a system that was built by racism. No, you fucking moron. You were abducted into a fucking cult, Jon Stewart. That's not reality. That's their assumption about the world. God, it's so infuriating when he yells at Andrew Sullivan about living on a different planet. You're the one living on a different planet, dude.
Yep.
My life is hard, and I work hard, and I don't get ahead. So how does privilege factor into it to me. Now, you try and get these conversations going.
Where I
See, that was edited right there. Obviously,
Right.
this was edited down from a longer show,
Right.
so Sully could have been great.
come
Maybe.
from is that this system of white supremacy has done such a good job of teaching us as white people that racism is bad. And when we talk about race,
Yeah. Isn't that a good thing? You stupid bitch. Liberalism has done such a good job of teaching people racism is bad so they won't be racist.
You just said the system of white supremacy that we live in does a good job of teaching people that racism is bad.
Oh, I completely spaced on the fact that she called it white supremacy because it's so contradictory. That's white supremacy. I don't know white
Let
supremacy.
me go back. Just drink in how utterly fucking batshit dumb. There's no way it's gonna get monetized because I'm cursing so much.
That's a
'Cause I'm so triggered.
the biggest contradiction in the world.
Yeah.
I remember white supremacy was like hating other racial
Yes.
categories, right?
White supremacy is when society tells you that racism is bad.
Yeah. Isn't it the opposite of that, Sitch? I mean, it used to be the opposite.
No. See, white supremacy. You don't understand that. White supremacy is when you say that all racism is bad. See, racism against certain groups of people, like
Oh,
white people,
okay.
is totally fine.
Right, I got you.
That's fine.
this system
Factor into it to me. Now, you try and get these conversations going.
where I come from is that this system of white supremacy has done such a good job of teaching us as white people that racism is bad.
That's like the stupidest thing ever spoken by a human being. This is how you know this is how you know this is the new Scientology. Because this is you have to be a crazy person to buy into this shit. Who sits down at dinner and hears this and goes, like, doesn't look over at their friend and go, I paid $5,000 for this garbage? This is the opening salvo? I thought I was getting my own planet.
You pay $5,000, you walk into the dinner and they're like, listen, guys, white supremacy's done a good job teaching you that racism is bad. You're like, what? I'm out of here. Give me back my money. Knock the fucking table over. This is bullshit.
Yes.
Oh, God.
And when we talk about racism, we're talking about your character flaw. If we say you're racist, it's a character flaw. I'm bad, and I know I'm not bad. I think I'm a good person. I think I'm a nice person, and
You could lose a little weight, but you know.
Wow.
She's got it. The gloves are coming off, man.
Yeah.
She's calling everyone around her racist. We can talk about her fucking
Right.
fat ass.
Well, she's not just fat. She's like morbidly obese. Like,
Yeah,
it's
totally.
different too.
Yeah,
I can excuse people.
You
from
know,
being
she's a
fat,
member
but-
of the body positivity movement.
Yeah.
I know that I am racist, and I know that I'm racist because I every single day.
Look at that. Now that she's admitted to be racist, I don't mind calling her fat either.
There you
Because
go.
racists are pieces of shit. And I think we
That's
should
right.
demoralize them.
That's right. If you're racist, then yeah, we can make fun of you.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks, Lisa.
Yeah.
Right.
I think we should cancel her. I don't think racist people should be employed.
I can't believe Jon Stewart would have a self-avowed bigot on his show.
White
about
supremacist, a self-avowed white supremacist
Yes.
Yeah.
Jon Stewart
What's
has
going on?
self-avowed white supremacists on program.
Why is Apple TV endorsing white supremacy in this way?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm disgusted. I'm
I
frankly
am totally
disgusted.
disgusted.
Racist because I every single day uphold the systems and the structures of racism.
You couldn't uphold fucking fork.
And if we don't start having a conversation about
Wait. Okay, so what she said is very important, besides the fact that she can barely uphold a ham sandwich to reach into her mouth. Okay. What she's advocating for, she said, I'm a racist because I uphold the systems of white supremacy. Okay. What that means, what Jon Stewart doesn't understand, because he has his head too much up his ass to understand, what she's saying is, because I'm living in a racist system and I'm not causing a fucking revolution, okay, because I'm not physically overthrowing my government, I'm just as guilty. And every person who participates in this system is just as guilty.
Yeah, it's just it's word games. It's totally psychological warfare. She's basically saying if you don't fight the way she wants you to fight, you're a racist.
It's worse than that. This is literal stochastic terrorism.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Is what it is.
She's recruiting you.
Maybe you could have made this argument when there were people who were literally enslaved by the and that was allowed by the government. Okay. Maybe you could make some argument that when there are people in chains that are being, raped and bred for a life of servitude in this abhorrent condition, maybe then you could say, listen, if you're in that system and you're not fighting against that, you're allowing it to be and you're participating in it to some extent. And so you're just guilty to some extent. Maybe you could make that argument during that time period.
Right.
Today? What the fuck are you? What are you talking about? What is possibly going on today that would merit? There has to be an entire revolution against our country. And if you don't participate in the revolution, you're just as guilty as it. What? There's nothing happening. What are you talking about?
This is why it's so morally repugnant too, because this woman envisions herself as being on the Underground Railroad when she risks absolutely nothing doing what she's doing. She's in the fucking status quo.
Anyone running the Underground Railroad back in the day was not that fat, okay? They didn't have the luxury to be that fat because they were running. They were running the Underground Railroad.
Well, they were literally putting their lives on the line.
Yes.
They were putting their freedom on the line.
She's putting her plates on the line. Okay?
She's not even putting a ham sandwich on the line.
She's putting $5,000 a meal on the line. I'm sorry, she's receiving $5,000 a meal on the line.
Yes, you understand what I mean. But she does, in her head, right now, she thinks, I am part of the new Underground Railroad. This is still happening. People are still living in slavery under this capitalist system, and I am fighting against it. I am putting my entire career on the line for this. My entire life is devoted to this. That's the dream world that she lives in.
This lady is the meme image of Daenerys being held up by all the non-white people.
Oh, exactly.
And it's like when a white woman tweets some woke shit on Twitter, okay? That's this lady.
Oh, yeah.
Except obviously no one could hold her up. But, that's what's going on in her head.
If that happened, though, she would literally kill like 5 people.
5 people of color would die trying to hold her up. But no, and it's so despicable because this exactly goes into what I was talking about on Sunday about the psychology behind witch burning and how they have this totally insane attitude of there's no middle ground here. There's no nuance here. You're either with us or you're against us. Okay. Yeah. You're either engaged in a revolution against the system or you're a white supremacist. That's it. There's nothing in between.
The framing of the argument is actually brilliant.
It is brilliant and disgusting. Yeah. And Jon Stewart is sitting here like a fucking lump. Okay. Like a cancer, like he's the fucking cancerous lump on skin, sitting here like a fucking idiot. Just listening to this dumb, moronic, racist, horrible, stochastic terrorism that's coming out of this lady's mouth, and he just completely doesn't understand what's going on. He's completely ignorant to it. Just sitting there like a slack-jawed moron. Like, okay, yeah, sure.
Is he an idiot or a coward? I mean, I guess he could be both.
Both. He could be both. I don't know.
Yeah.
Could be both.
I can't believe he's falling for this nonsense.
And about the ways that we are complicit every day, daily. If we don't talk about it, then we are never going to see movement.
Andrew, do you think
you've never seen movement in your entire life? Are you kidding me? Take a run. How's she keep doing this? She's just teasing us, Sitch. Every single thing she says has a fat joke in it.
Because it always gets framed.
Look at poor Andrew.
I know.
Andrew's sitting there going, right now he's like, his blood pressure is totally up.
My God.
He can't stand. He's like, why? I'm going to burst here. I have to talk.
Framed on that moral level, right? Does the moral qualifying of it make resentment the natural outcome of that?
I think one of the issues is that it's very hard to agree with some of the very premises that are being expressed tonight. As if everything is already settled.
You like how uncomfortable Jon Stewart looks there? He's like,
this is what makes me think. Hold on. This is what makes me think Jon Stewart is a fucking coward.
Maybe.
Being expressed tonight.
I mean, look at it. He's like, oh my God. Look at this.
He's a fucking coward. He's just a coward.
As if everything is already settled. We know this country is, for example, a white supremacy. Well, I don't believe that. I think it's possibly the most absurd hyperbole I've ever heard.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Yes, yeah. You're in a fucking death cult, okay? And not only are you in a death cult, you're basically shaming people into joining your death cult by fucking lying, by being just dishonest pieces of shit, which is the worst. How is it different than a cult? This is the exact same thing cults do. They lie to people. They separate them from the people they love.
You're right.
Acts exactly like a cult. It does.
You're right. Yeah, you're so right. Cults come in and they program you and they brainwash you to say everyone outside the cult is evil.
Yeah, white supremacists. Your family's, your brother's a white supremacist. Your mom's a white supremacist. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see one of these cult deprogramming psychologist people come in and just be like, boom, this is how wokeness is literally like the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I'm an immigrant, so I have a slightly different view of this. I can tell you, America.
Look how angry she gets.
There's
Look at her face.
Both of them.
She's seething. Look at her face. She's like, oh.
They have no idea. I mean, a conservative to them, they have no idea what a conservative believes, but they've made the conservative out to be the Satan in their moral system. So she's literally talking to somebody she sees as a demon.
Right.
Who's come in here to deceive us about the truth that we know.
We have a heretic in our midst.
Yeah, exactly. It's fucking sad. It is. I mean, it's great entertainment for us sitting and watching them from the outside, but
2022 is the most multiracial, multicultural, tolerant, diverse melting pot that has ever existed on planet Earth, and there is no other place on Earth even like it. That's why 86% of our immigrants are non-white.
Let me ask you a question, though, Andrew.
This country?
Okay.
Yeah.
So first of all, brilliant point, Andrew. Thank you. Andrew is like a cool ocean breeze that's just coming in on a hot day that's just making us feel so much better. Okay.
Definitely. Yes.
But his point here, it's important that you hear it, because Jon Stewart gets so fucking triggered. And this is where I get so disgusted here. He completely, I think it is through his elephant taking over, because he doesn't even let Andrew finish before he tries to jump in. He completely misrepresents everything that Andrew just said.
Yeah, he's not listening to him at all.
Completely misrepresents. Andrew said, I don't believe that this is a white supremacist country. You can't just make that declaration. And part of the reason is America is the most, multi-ethnic, multicultural country, and 86% of immigrants that are currently coming to the country right now are not white. So the implication would be, why are all these non-white people coming here if this is such a racist place?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. And not only that, if the systems in play are legitimately white supremacists, why are we only letting 14% of our immigrants be white?
Right.
Wouldn't they be fucking
right? Why would we be letting in all these non-white people if we're so white supremacists?
Yeah. So an excellent point basically makes two stellar arguments against what they're saying. He links it back to evidence. What's Jon Stewart going to do? Is he going to drop some knowledge, bring some evidence out? Don't get your hopes up.
I think you bring up an interesting point, and we might be getting hung up on semantics. So the fact that you're an immigrant speaks volumes. It means you chose to come here. But America didn't start that way for black people. They didn't immigrate here. They were living somewhere else, and they were kidnapped and raped and murdered and taken here. And so for you to
He totally, see the face that he makes?
I know.
It's so evil. He fully went appeal to emotion.
Well, and look how triggered Jon Stewart gets here. He literally didn't understand what the fuck Andrew said, and he's getting so triggered by it.
Yeah.
to just say this is a magnificent place that doesn't have racism is actually, I think, more of a foundational lie than anything else.
Okay, John, get your head out of your ass, grab control of your fucking elephant, and shut the fuck up. Because he didn't say anything that you just said. He didn't say that there was no racism in America, John. And he didn't say anything about the founding of the country or slavery. He said, why are people coming here now in the year 2022 if it's a racist society? And your response is to say, what about slavery? They didn't choose to come here. That has nothing to do with anything, Jon Stewart, you pea-brained, addle-brained motherfucker.
Totally. Yes. Fatso's making an argument that we live in a white supremacist system now, right today. And he made a cogent argument against that. And please respond.
When I first watched this, I'm like, okay, you know, people get emotional. They get heated in these conversations.
Never.
Jon Stewart obviously didn't understand what the fuck he just said because his elephant took over. And I would be willing to like forgive it if this was the only thing. But he just keeps tripling down through this conversation, strumming the fuck out of Andrew, misrepresenting everything he's saying in like the most despicable way. And he's so smug and egotistical about it.
Yeah, I know. It's terrible. He's a big fucking a-hole.
Right.
I didn't say that.
Listen.
You said
I
that
am not
it's the
saying
most
that
hyperbole.
racism doesn't exist. I said the term white supremacy is an absurd hyperbole. For most people, that means the KKK. It means no rights for minorities. And
Okay,
this has
then
been
let's
used
define the term.
simply to avoid an argument.
So let's take a step back.
And I wish he would have been able to be like, not just talk about the white supremacy thing, but be like, John, you totally strawman the fuck out of me. I'm talking about immigration now. I'm not talking about immigration in the 1700s.
Yeah.
Okay, John. I'm talking about right now.
Yeah.
Let's define what we mean by white supremacy. When you say white supremacy, how are you defining it for this conversation?
When I talk about white supremacy and when I talk about racism, I'm talking about power and privilege, the power and privilege that we hold as white people in society, the way in which our structures, our institutions, our systems, how everything was designed with white people in mind and only white people in mind. If you think
that 86% non-white immigration policy was designed with white people in mind. I mean, what? Okay.
About who is white in society, how it has morphed.
Oh, dude, I'm a Jew. I was grandfathered in like 50 years ago.
Right.
Here's what they did. Brown people started coming. They're like, we're going to need some Jews. And so they brought us in.
Absolutely.
It expands.
But it does that to hold up the pillars of the systems that are in place.
And but you think it's purposeful?
It's absolutely purposeful.
Andrew, would your...
Okay. So if you want to deconstruct the gobbledygook that she just said, which was very stupid, her point, what she just said is, I can call current America a white supremacist society because when the country was founded, it had white supremacy built into its system, which is true. Obviously, white people were literally enslaving black people. You can say that's fine. But what she's saying, and where she's going crazy, is she's saying, in today's system, we're still upholding the white supremacy from our founding 200 plus years later.
Yes.
And she just says that. She doesn't give any evidence for it. She doesn't explain it. She just says it like it's a fact that we just have to accept that the system, because it had problems when it started, has the same problems 200 plus years later.
That's the system we're living in. So it's prima facie correct.
Right. And this is why, and it compares to what she said earlier. We're about how if you're complicit in the system without revolting or causing a fucking revolution, then you're just as bad. these people, like Lisa, are advocating for a complete revolution against our government and our system and our way of life. She's not talking about, we need to add some laws to amend the system or anything like that. No, she's saying the system needs to be torn up, root and stem, burned down, and from the ashes, we'll have some magical communist alchemy and something better will form.
Is she a Marxist? Did you look into that? Or are you just assuming?
I'm assuming based on what she's saying.
Right. Well, I think she's an idiot, to be honest with you. And
She could just be.
I think she's just saying the prayers and incantations that she's been taught, but she has no idea what any of this means.
It's very possible if you took an X-ray of her skull, you would find nothing but fat in her head instead of brain matter.
It would be a piece of pie.
Right. And it's just a piece of pie. And on that piece of pie is written all the garbage CRT nonsense.
Racism. Yeah, white supremacy.
She's got the Robin DiAngelo and the CRT nonsense that they talk about at her organization that she works about. And she just repeats the shit and she has no fucking clue what it means. That's very possible.
Notice how very serious she is about all this.
Right.
Yeah. Huh, okay.
Argument be that you don't believe that that's purposeful or that it doesn't exist?
I don't believe it exists.
Okay.
I don't know what these systems are.
Look, they laugh at him.
Right.
Okay, so
give me one system.
All right, redlining neighborhoods.
Capitalism?
No, redlining neighborhoods.
Oh, he's already on it. He's like, I know where this is going. Capitalism.
Andrew, and this is where Andrew fucks up.
Yeah.
Okay. He says, name me a system. Explain to me what you're talking about. Jon Stewart says redlining.
Right. No, I think this was deceptive editing because they totally make him look like an idiot. It's one of the things that bothered me about this.
Oh, you think maybe this was deceptive?
Fuck yeah, exactly.
Maybe.
This makes Jon Stewart look like a genius to all of his woke fucking nimrods, and it makes him look like an idiot.
Right.
That was a state-enforced thing from Jim Crow, which is the one point at which I think absolutely is true.
So you just said it doesn't exist except for that.
Well, it did exist, though. That's the problem, and he doesn't say that.
And this is where Andrew fucks up. His answer here should be, I asked you about a system
today.
Now,
yes.
In the year 2022. We're not talking about what happened 60 years ago. We're not talking about what happened 200 years ago. You said we live in a white supremacist system right now.
Today.
Give me a system now. Okay? Yeah. Okay, you pressed it.
No, you do it.
No.
Yeah.
No, I said white supremacy doesn't exist.
But so when the New Deal was passed, right? When the New Deal was passed, black people were explicitly not allowed.
So he goes back even further than redlining.
Loans. When the Homestead Act allowed white people to get an enormous wealth of land and be able to farm it, black people did not have access to that.
Social Security.
Slaves were freed. When Social Security came, black people, when the GI Bill, black people were not. So when you say to me, I don't get how this exists, I'm just having trouble figuring out, you're a bright guy. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Exactly. Honestly, I don't know.
John, what the fuck are you talking about? Mm-hmm. Now.
We've solved all those problems. What's going on? Yeah.
Now. If you want to make an argument that the effects of those past systems reverberate to today and still have impact to today, then guess what? Everyone fucking agrees with you there. Obviously, that's true, but that's not what she said. Mm-hmm. And that's not what you said. That's not what Andrew said. She said that right now we live in a white supremacist system. And he asked, what is the system that's going on now that's the white supremacist system? Don't bring up some shit from 60, 70 fucking years ago.
Yeah.
So, Chip, you jump in. And I don't mean to attack you. I'm just confused. Chip.
First off.
And also, that's so disgusting. He attacks him. He says, I don't mean to attack you. He attacks him. And then he doesn't even let him respond.
He goes to
this other guy.
Yeah.
This other guy.
Terrible host.
The false analogy is this, equating 250 years of slavery and then 100 years of Jim Crow with the immigrant experiences of white Europeans from 1870 to 1924. I grew up in an Italian-Jewish neighborhood in Philadelphia, working class. But you know how these folks made it? They got jobs in the government, civil jobs, cops, union jobs. These were all off limits. If you were brown or black, forget it. Here's the real deal about everything, is that whites came to believe that everything good, the jobs, the land, the suburbs, it was theirs. And when blacks try to encroach, that's when you have the pushback. That's when you have...
Let me pause it for some copyright.
Oh, are you? Okay. The thing about redlining is, like, redlining was done by the banks because of the perception that when blacks moved into the neighborhood, it would destroy the property values. The only way to fix that is to change the perceptions in the areas, and I feel like we've made huge progress in changing those perceptions. But all of this woke stuff just is totally setting us back on that.
Right. The expert layman for $5 says 90s liberal Jon Stewart is dead. We're viewing zombie NPC Jon Stewart animated through the necromancy of woke ideology.
So true.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
riots about busing. That's when you have terrorism. So I don't know, I get Andrew, I know Andrew's history, but I don't even remotely understand what he's saying about American history, because it is not in any
He's
way...
not talking about American history.
This is nothing like what he's talking about.
No one is denying this awful history, nor is anyone denying.
Great. So let's talk productively about what we do about it. I think the conversation is then this. We have an awful history. Its remnants are still felt today.
We also have a great history, John.
Say it again?
We also have a great history.
But I think you're minimizing it. You're suggesting that
I think by calling today white supremacy, you are minimizing actual white supremacy. You have an incredible diversity.
What?
To condemn all American history as racist.
I disagree that they're generalizing all white people. The systems that were racist that were put in place. Systems. Yes. The systems that were put in place.
I'd like you to explain exactly what they are.
Well, I thought I explained it earlier about the GI Bill and about the New Deal.
That's one thing. I want to know about these systems.
I just explained it.
See, this is totally deceptive editing here.
Well, do you think it is deceptive editing? It could be. I don't know. Or Andrew's just doing very poorly in the conversation, but he's not being clear.
That's one. And I agree that.
Andrew, you're not living on the same fucking planet we are. Honestly. I really don't think you are.
I think you are not living in the planet most Americans are, which is why this kind of extremism, this anti-white...
Look at Fatso.
I know, she's so triggered.
Fatso's so like, triggered. Why did I agree to come talk to this conservative?
I know.
Everything he says is just lies. It's either he's so deceptive.
Extremism is losing popular support, is creating a backlash, is going to elect Republicans and undo a lot of the good you think you're doing.
This is what happens when you don't talk about it. This is what happens when white people don't talk about it, is you have racist dog whistle tropes like this that actually...
She basically just called him a racist.
Yeah. But she just did call him a racist. And she interrupts him in the middle of talking. So.
Sullivan is right, though. Sullivan is totally right.
He's completely right.
Yeah. Our system elects politicians to cater to electorates. The only reason we don't have a race problem now is because there's not a lot of racists in the electorate. As soon as there is a lot of racists in the electorate, guess what's going to happen to those policies?
Right.
Redlining's back, baby.
Exactly.
Yeah. And they're not going to talk about it. They're just going to vote that way.
We've made, these people have it so backwards. Okay. We went from a country that had slavery to a country where everyone is free, and racism has been systemic racism, not how they define it, but systemic racism in terms of laws that are racist, that are targeting people on the basis of their race, have been completely abolished and removed. So much so that you can't even culturally talk about it without being labeled, with the most horrendous label ever in our society, and you can't participate in governance whatsoever, or really in public life. So much so, which is great. We've stigmatized being a racist so much that it's just so removed from the conversation. And we're there from a starting point of enslaving black people. Okay, to me, that shows how amazing our system is. That shows how the amazing amount of progress we've made as a society, from starting from there to going here. And we did it and it only took one civil war, 100 years ago, and protesting.
Yeah.
Okay. It didn't require, changes of that magnitude. I don't think people can appreciate it. Cultural and legal changes of that magnitude that could happen, and the country remains the same country it started from. Okay. Without having the country have to fall apart and be reconstructed again is incredible. It's almost unheard of.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a miracle.
Instead of, it's a fucking miracle. And the fact that America has made it through all this shows how amazing our system is. And these dumb idiots don't understand that.
No.
And they're like, no, our system, in the 1700s, people weren't born with the most enlightened ideas of modern times. So therefore, our system must be evil then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a kind of ancestor worship, really.
Yes. It's these idiots with this utopian ideology that unless it's perfect, unless it not only is perfect, but started perfect, well, then we must destroy.
Yeah. It's awful. Hey, Shoe on Head's in the chat. What's up, Shoe?
Hey, Shoe.
Actually perpetuate and perpetuate and perpetuate. So I did not come on this show to sit here and argue with another white man. That's one of the reasons that we don't even engage with white men at Race to Dinner.
That's like the big applause line.
The big applause line is being a racist, sexist pig.
Yeah.
Okay. At our organization, we only have white women come to our dinners because white men are just so racist. We can't even talk to them.
I mean, you got to admit,
oh fuck,
we're not going to fall for this bullshit. So I mean, it's probably just better that you don't invite anyone that has any courage to speak up to the nonsense you're spewing. Right.
Right.
It says more about their organization than anything.
I'm out.
Because quite honestly, if white men were going to do something about racism, you had 400 years.
Fuck you, bitch. Fuck off.
Yes.
Oh, God.
Nothing has, listen, in 400 years from slavery to today, nothing's changed.
Yeah.
You heard it here first. Nothing has
no
changed.
white men have done anything about slavery. There were no white men on the Underground Railroad. No white men fought in the Civil War. No white men went to Mississippi and got shot in the head by cops fighting for civil rights. No white men ever did anything like that.
No white men passed legislation, making it illegal to have discrimination on the basis of race. Nothing happened. Nothing happened whatsoever. White men are just the evil devils incarnate for 400 years and for all of human history.
This is a cult. This is a cult.
Yes.
Look, you've saved the world, okay? Lisa, you've saved us all.
Lisa ate the world. She didn't save the world, Adam. She ate it.
Just keep believing that, okay?
You could have done.
And John laughs.
And John is eating it up.
What a cuck.
I know.
What a simp. What a loser.
Yeah. What a loser. Let Karen walk all over you here.
Okay.
Well, listen. Maybe it's not John's fault. Okay, he's faced with a larger animal. Okay, he doesn't want to be eaten by this creature, so he's
right.
He's showing his belly.
She does look hungry.
He's rolling over. She does look. She's looking at John a little hungry. Listen, Andrew's not in the studio, Adam. He's safe.
Right.
He's somewhere else. Okay.
Oh, God.
John's right there.
Can you imagine if I was Andrew? I would have bought a wide assortment of Hostess so I could hold them up and say, "Would this change your mind?" I have a delicious Hostess Twinkie here. Are white men really that bad?
I'll have you know a white man invented those.
years old.
I'm shutting you down right now.
I am not responsible for anyone
the
before
point
me.
is, I'm so tired of.
You know, I don't know if she knows that Andrew Sullivan is actually a homosexual. What she's doing is very homophobic.
Right. I'm shutting you down. I'm not letting you speak. Okay.
This conversation and this deep hurt that Andrew has about talking about racism, and Chip, God bless you, but I'm gonna put everybody in the thing. All of us white people do this. I don't care if we say we're abolitionists. I don't care if we say we're progressive. I don't care if we're literally members of the KKK.
What?
Every single white person upholds these systems and structures of white supremacy, and we have got to talk about it.
How dumb. Like, even if you believe this nonsense, okay, from a persuasive point of view, if you're going to tell me that if I come out and I fight against racism, I could have marched with Martin Luther King Jr. I could have taken a bullet, okay, from a racist KKK member. And you're saying that just because I'm white, I'm the same as the racist KKK guy?
Right.
Why the fuck would I help you do jack shit?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, no.
Are you a moron? Why would I help you do anything? You're saying that no matter what I do, until I cause an entire revolution of my entire government and system, I'm the same as the KKK guy? You can fuck right off.
You're guilty. You're guilty, Sitch. You're guilty.
This is a cult. It is a cult. We're hitting you with the original sin of whiteness.
Yeah.
Okay. Until you get baptized, until you burn the system down, until you pull it out root and stem, you are a sinner. You are a racist. You must absolve your whiteness.
Right. Who do I make this $5,000 check out to again?
Now pay me $5,000 so you can come to a dinner where I serve you some dried chicken and some dried green beans and I tell you that you're a racist.
Yeah. Exactly.
They don't invite men to this because I don't think a man would pay $5,000. Most men would be like, are you fucking shitting me?
Of course not, yeah. I don't know. I bet a lot of that pie money comes from husbands, though. I bet it does.
It probably does. Hey, Aiden. What's going on? Yeah, it is weird to tell a Jewish guy to his face that he's a white supremacist. That's very strange. Very strange.
And have him completely eat it up.
Right.
Yeah. Jon Stewart. What a fucking loser. Oh, and everyone's going to clap. This must be in California. Oh, look. She's so disturbed.
I don't know how Andrew kept his calm. I would have literally been like, listen here, you fucking cunt.
Right.
I would have lost my mind on this person.
Well, that's why we're not invited on these shows.
I guess that's why.
We would have been thrown off after the first fat joke. Oh, man.
If I could finger snap, I would finger snap right now.
See? What a cunt.
Will you be finger snapping by calling me a racist, John?
Let's.
Oh, thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Andrew.
You've been doing a pretty good job with it yourself there.
So he says,
wow.
So Andrew Sullivan says, well, at least you're not calling me a racist. And John's response is, no, you are a racist.
Right.
What a fucking dick.
What a piece of shit.
What a dick. I wonder if he actually believes it. No, this is how it rolls. They don't believe that you're overtly racist, but they do think that you're a racist because you're upholding these systems of white supremacy. And if you aren't fighting with them, obviously you're a white supremacist. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's so evil. It's so evil.
It's so evil.
It is.
What happened to Jon Stewart? He is dead. Jon Stewart died 5 years ago in a ditch somewhere, and now he's been revived through the dark powers of race Marxism and wokeness.
Yeah.
Necromanced his corpse, and they've shoved their hand up his ass, and they're just puppeting him around.
We need a new name for Jon Stewart because I don't like dead naming people. He needs like, Sleepy Joe Biden.
Jim Stewart. How about that? This is Jim Stewart.
Or Lion Ted. Something. Give us something Trumpian. We want. Want every time we hear Jon Stewart's new name, I want to laugh.
What about Cuck Stewart?
Cuck Stewart is good. It's a little on the nose, but
a little too on the nose. Okay, we'll workshop something. Chat, figure it out.
Look, they're like, "How dare you call me racist?"
But Andrew, You're taking words out of context and blowing them out of proportion so that you don't have to deal with having to figure out a way to deconstruct the barriers that were put in place for black people in this country and give them a better chance.
Your opening segment
was
the
brilliant.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Biggest reductionist, one-sided,
Yes. Yes.
completely biased position.
Yes. Andrew, you are correct.
When I watched it, I wondered, have you lived in the same country as everybody else for the last 30 years? It was a straw man that you created.
Andrew.
A total straw man.
You can appreciate
in which every white person was bad.
Let me just stop for a
Every
second.
black person had the same position.
You can appreciate.
Yeah, that totally triggered me. That's what always triggers me.
Right.
It's completely racist to say any group is a monolith. That's like Martin Luther King 101, right? Judge me by the content of my character, not the color of my skin. Oh, wait a second. We're going back to the color of the skin thing, right? It's like all black people think the same thing. All white people think the same thing.
That's a key part of CRT and sort of like race Marxism and this woke stuff is that I'm trying to remember who said it, like, I think it was someone in Congress. They were like, "Oh, I'm tired of these black people who aren't actually black.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
they don't believe with us politically, and they have this conception that there's it's so bizarre because they say, oh, don't look at objective science, don't look at polling. You just have to listen and believe people's stories. However, there's like an asterisk there. There's a little addendum that's like, unless that person's narrative disagrees with the accepted CRT woke narrative about race. And they have this whole concept of it's really despicable how if you're black and you don't conform with their version of anti-racism, which is race Marxism, then you're not really black. You're giving up your blackness in this desperate attempt to try to receive the property of whiteness so you can fit into our evil white supremacist society.
Yeah.
And so that's how they make these claims that, oh, they're speaking for all black people. All black people have the same opinion. Because if you don't have that opinion, then you're not black, supposedly. You lose your black card.
That's fucking evil.
It is
so evil.
It's just completely despicable.
It's
completely
evil.
Racist.
It is racist and evil. Yeah.
You can love where you live, and you can honestly diagnose a terrible, terrible illness that has lived in this beautiful place that you call home and love, that you believe has metastasized into a cancer that can kill the very thing that you believe in so deeply about this country. To improve that place and make it into the country that it stated it was in its founding documents is the duty of everybody who lives here. So do not tell me who I am or what I believe.
Yeah, why don't you stop telling us who we are and what we believe, fucking asshole?
Well,
of the fuck.
John, you dumb fuck. This is why he literally doesn't understand what he's talking about, okay? What he said was fine. Yeah, America didn't live up in a universal way to the principles it laid out in, its founding, in the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, okay? The liberal conception here is that the way to solve inequality, especially racial inequality in our country, is to take those sentiments that John is talking about so lovingly and to just broaden the category so that these things apply to all people. They apply to women, they apply to black people, they apply to people without property. That is the liberal solution for race problems and gender problems in America. And that's what we did, John. Okay?
Yeah.
The woman who's sitting across from you that you're snapping, that you're, licking her fat folds here and attacking Andrew, doesn't agree with you, John. She's saying, fuck you, John. The principles that are in that founding documents are lies. Everything in that document is a lie and it's created to uphold the white supremacy. And you, Jon Stewart, are a dumb idiot for believing that the system can be reformed. That's what she's saying to your face, and you're too ignorant and you're too stupid to understand it.
Great point. Great fucking point. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just saying that you created a straw man.
I apologize.
And then he apologizes immediately, like the ultimate
I
cuck
know.
move.
He's super cuck.
Yeah.
Cuck Stewart.
He's like, listen,
Stuart Little.
I gave that impassioned speech about liberal values, and let me just cuck it completely by
There you go.
apologizing for it.
Stuart Little. That's his
Yeah.
new name. Figured it out.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, when you get older, it's harder to control the emotions. But
Lies. Don't listen to that, chat. It's a fucking lie.
let's talk about solutions. Lisa, I'll start with you. What is the future? How do we heal a country that
You send $5,000 and a pie to my P.O. box right now.
that has a really difficult time dealing with this, as we see from 4 people that I think
How hilarious it would be for the $5,000 race dinner that the lady works for. It's not just $5,000. It's a potluck. You have to bring.
I'm sure. There's no way I wouldn't write pie money in my check, because you know where that money's going.
like can respect each other and yet still can't have a conversation.
I think the first thing that we need to understand is that all of us white people have a responsibility to engage in these conversations regularly.
But when it gets hot like this, what do you do? How do you back out of that and remind everybody, like, hey, okay, let's take a breath. I think we're all decent, good-hearted people who are trying to do the right thing. We differ in how to do it.
I love the fact that she says, as white people, we have to all engage in these conversations regularly, but we never invite white men to our fucking meetings to talk about this shit. It's like, okay, I guess we're just talking amongst ourselves, because I don't know, our conversations might drift in a different direction. Just FYI.
Yes, I think that we have to know that.
Well, and also, this is very dishonest, because John's like, what do we do when the conversations become heated? It's like, okay, the people who heat up this conversation, John, were you and Lisa.
Yes.
You're the ones calling Andrew a racist piece of shit.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly. Great point.
Like, what are you talking about? You don't get this. This would be like if after Will Smith smacked Chris Rock in the face, he went on stage and said, listen, you need to talk about ways of de-escalating situations. Like, you're the one that escalated it. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Yes, you're not the avatar of sanity in the race relations dialogue.
Right. You just fucking Will Smith slapped Andrew Saul in the face. Now you're like, oh, what are we supposed to do about me being a prick?
Yeah. Don't be a prick.
Yeah.
Easy solution.
we have to hold people accountable, but we
have to wag our fingers in your faces. We have to do a lot of finger wagging at a lot of people.
also
listen,
have
nothing
to
gets-
hold them with grace and with compassion. And we have to.
Look at that. They cut to Andrew. For those of you listening, they cut to Andrew Sullivan when she's talking about grace and compassion. Andrew Sullivan has this look on his face like, you just called me a racist, bitch. You told me you were shutting me down. That's grace and compassion?
He's like, he has the biggest like face of like doubt and disbelief right now.
to do each of them.
You know, to Lisa's point, I think at the individual level, there are things we can do. At the big level, what I think is that a lot of racism, when you strip it away, it's about someone trying to take my resources, and status is a resource. We need something akin to a New Deal, to something to a Marshall Plan. We basically, instead of building another B-1 bomber or another carrier, basically we invest in our infrastructure, schools, bridges. I mean, the list is very, very...
Why is it always education with these dumb fucks when they have not even a good argument to make in these conversations? It's like, what the hell are you going to educate people? You can't even make a cogent argument on a talk show. What's the education plan going to look like?
Listen, right now, there are millions, Adam, millions of black people who are living in food deserts right now.
Oh, okay.
Because Lisa's eating all their food, okay? And she won't share any of it. And so we're going to solve the problems of the black community.
Right.
Listen,
That's a good
we're going to
idea.
solve the problems of black people, living in poor neighborhoods.
By
where they
Lisa
can't
going
have
on a diet.
good education. They can't get access to good health care or good food or anything like that. And we're going to solve it by having a bunch of fucking bougie white ladies spend $5,000 to go to some some upper middle class rich black lady's house where she yells at them and calls them racist over dinner. That's going to solve the world's problem.
Yeah. Doubt. I'm doubtful. That's going to solve anything.
Long.
Right. Andrew,
I'm doubtful that's even going to solve Lisa's hunger for the evening.
I would think that's something actually that might appeal to you in terms of rebuilding infrastructure and things, because that's not based.
And then he goes to Andrew Sullivan and he's like, here, let me think of the stereotype of a conservative that I have. They care about infrastructure, right?
Well, I haven't watched this part. I couldn't sit. I was too triggered to watch this.
That's going to appeal to you, Andrew, right? You care about infrastructure, right? Bridges and stuff like that. What the fuck does that have to do with racism, you fucking moron?
Yeah, so I don't know what Andrew's response here is. I hope it's something like, of course, I'm on board with addressing the economic problems that Americans face and the infrastructure problems of our country face. And for you to tie that into race or racism is idiotic and dumb.
Of course it
because
is.
you're just dividing the country and people aren't going to get on board with it. And you're literally playing into the very thing you started the segment with, John, where you said that you think white people are afraid that black people are coming to take their shit. And by framing this as race issues, you're just playing into that narrative.
Of course.
The very narrative you said we should watch out for in the beginning.
Remember that nice bridge you wanted in your suburb? No, we're building it in our neighborhood now.
Right.
It's not, but it's rebuilding areas that are entrenched in poverty and those things.
It can be, absolutely, yes. But I'm sorry to say, I think just white people talking about this endlessly is not going to help actual black Americans who would deal with it. I have certain ideas about that. I think we need to focus intensely on young education. I think education is crucial. I think figuring out a way.
Look at this demoralized look this guy has on his face.
I know.
He's like, oh, I'm so painful. I have to listen to a conservative idea.
Well, listen, he just said, Andrew said, listen, Lisa, Chip, your entire jobs are meaningless.
Oh, you're right.
Okay.
Yes, you're right.
You putting on your fucking suits and your fat dresses and you sit around and you talk about racism isn't going to solve shit.
It doesn't do jack shit.
Nope.
Ah, that's so true. He just kicked the chair out from under him. That's why they look so terrorized.
To help black kids have a stable family. The truth is,
yes,
I
did.
He said the buzzword. He said,
"Did you
family.
say that?" But the look on Lisa's face when he said "stable family."
Let's go back.
Oh, look at that!
Ooh, stable family.
Ooh, why would he say that? Why would
the race dog whistle guy's family?
Ooh, why would anyone want to have a stable family? I want a mom with an OnlyFans account. Ooh.
Listen, we didn't all eat our family, Lisa. Some of us.
I know. Don't you think people want a stable family?
I know.
Jeez.
I wonder, does she address that after this? Is she going to be like, he
This
said
look
the
on her
family
face?
dog whistle, he's racist.
Well, to her, I don't want to be accused of straw manning. They see any sort of judgment of the family lifestyle of any, marginalized person or person of color or anything like that. They think they think that that's wrong. You shouldn't judge them by their by their lifestyle.
Right.
So, can we come up with a way to judge a good lifestyle and a bad lifestyle independent of race and just be able to say, okay, independent of race, this is a good lifestyle. I feel like we can do that. That doesn't seem impossible to do. I would argue even that's what we're actually doing, but.
Right. So I think we're going to talk. How you want to talk? As soon as we finish this video, we'll send Kirk the link and we'll start talking to him.
Yes, we're almost done.
So, yeah.
Is Kirk DMing you?
Yeah, he said he's good for, I think, whenever. So.
Okay, good.
It's true. If we have a two-parent married home, you're going to
say something to you, Andrew.
You really are.
I didn't grow up in a stable family.
Oh, and now dipshit over here wants to say that because
Stuart Little.
Yeah, Stuart Little wants to say.
As someone in the chat said, soy Stewart. That's another good one.
Yeah. See, he wants to say that because he grew up in a single mother environment and turned out okay, that we should make it the norm to raise kids in a single mother environment. What a fucking dipshit.
Well, to be fair, I don't think he's saying we should make it the norm. He's just saying that it's not. He's stupidly saying
Wrong,
it doesn't have anything
Sitch.
to do with
Wrong,
outcomes.
Sitch. We
I'm
all
wrong?
know. We all know that on average, kids with two parents become more successful than kids with
Right, of
one
course.
parent. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. And all Andrew Sullivan is saying, wouldn't it be great if certain communities were more successful? I thought that's the conversation we were having here.
Right. Oh, thank you for reminding me. We have to address something from last Tuesday.
We can't do. Come on, we've got to finish this up. Let's just finish the
Chat,
video. No,
Before the
take a
stream
foray.
ends, you remind me.
No,
I grew up in
Adam
a
was
single
super
parent family.
duper wrong last Tuesday.
No.
And I have to rail him for it, okay? Chat, you better remind me.
edit that out, CT. No, don't edit it out.
And so,
I'm just telling you, the data.
what's
The data is that 30% of African Americans don't have this. It's the biggest factor in getting people into college and succeeding in life. And if you ignore it, we're going to let these black kids down.
No, I think
Look at Fatso just shaking her head like, yeah,
I know.
no. Like any idea that's actually going to help the situation, they're tangibly against. Which that's fucked up. Who's the racist here? Who's upholding white supremacy, bitch?
Andrew, I
Well,
mean, what
to
I'm
be-
hearing is like the family.
Look at this. Sitch is like, to be fair.
Well, let me hear what this guy's going to say first.
The black family. That was the line. It wasn't the black family. It was the structures. In the 80s, it was crack. It's disinvestment. It's white flight. Family stability. There's an element of economic stability and family stability. And like that's lost in your conversation.
I feel like
Okay.
See, they
so
totally
when-
cut there. They cut part of it out. I'm sure he
Right.
answered that.
I'm sure he did. So the reason that let me turn off my elephant for a second. Let me be good cop again. Okay. Hello.
It's Good
So-
Faith Gary. How are you doing, Gary?
Hey, how y'all doing? No, I was doing good cop from Lego Movie. But so when they hear a conservative say something about the breakup of the family unit, in their mind, what they're hearing is, oh, you just want to lay the blame of lower income black people problems at their own feet. You want to say this is all their fault. It's their culture. I don't want to spend any money. I don't want to have the government do anything to help these people. Okay. That's what they hear. And that's why they're so against the argument. But if they were smart and they turned off their elephants and they adjusted their riders, they would say, first of all, it's probably true. Having two parents is like the biggest correlative, maybe not we don't know if it's the causation, but it's definitely the biggest correlative factor for success for most people on average, statistically. And so there are government policies that can be passed or retracted that harmed, that caused the situation and caused the breakup of the family. And there could be incentives given by the government to have strong two-parent household family unit groupings.
Yes, I agree.
And that's what they should be advocating for in response to the whole breakup of the family thing, instead of just shaking their heads and getting so triggered and saying that has nothing to do with anything and looking like complete out-of-touch wackaloons.
Conservatives would jump in with both feet if they said we're going to strengthen American families. Yes, but they're not going to say that in a million years because they hate the fucking family. Are you kidding me? They don't care about the family.
That's the thing. Like
I
I don't know what Lisa and Chip feel about this, but that there's a reason why in Black Lives Matter, one of their bizarre tenets was this: we need to get rid of this idea of the nuclear family and the two-parent household as being the norm and something that should be sought after.
Yes. They're weirdos.
your defensiveness and the tropes that you use about the black family being the cause of entrenched poverty in that community ignores why those families are broken up in the first place, and that's mass incarceration, and that's the way that we view the crack epidemic, and that's the economic opportunity over generations that was defined. So you keep trying to remove things from their historical bearings, and I just think that's...
No.
If you can't diagnose the problem, you can't fix it.
We need to think about how we help the family restructure itself, because it's
You know, anytime this would be a tactic. I think actual Justice Warrior brought this up. Though I don't think he phrased
We
it
got
just
5
this way.
minutes. Got to wrap it up, but go ahead.
Okay. If you're having this conversation with someone about, trying to create stable families, and they bring up like mass incarceration for Black people or something, or, the drug laws, you call that person a racist. You say, are you so stupid that you think that there are just millions and millions and millions of Black fathers in jail right now? Like the amount of the statistically, if you look at the numbers, the amount of people in jail who are Black and the amount of children growing up in fatherless houses, they're not the same number. There's like millions more kids that are living in fatherless houses than there are people in jail. You are racist if you think every fucking Black male is in jail, or if this is your conception of reality. That is the reason why there's these problems with, family relationships in lower income neighborhoods.
Yeah, you're the racist, John.
Yeah.
Little John. Tiny Tim.
It's because of mass incarceration.
It's key.
Let's boil it down then. Why do you think the family got that way?
Because I do think it wasn't marriage became less important. Sex outside of marriage came more for all of us.
But
And
you're
now
not
we're seeing
talking
the
about
same
all of
happening
us,
with white
Andrew.
families.
You're talking about...
No, but we also...
You're talking about
What I'm saying is that when you look
specifically
at white
the Black
families
community.
today, you see the...
So bad.
Yeah.
Fucking
Well,
John's a dick.
Well, Andrew needs to have the correct talking points here about the specific welfare laws and reforms that actually made it so there are financial incentives for lower income individuals, not just Black, but white
John's
as well.
just a fundamentalist. Wag my finger at everyone. Call everyone racist. It's sad.
The same.
It's like we have to have this important conversation that I'm just going to sit here and call you racist to score political points. You're not serious about having a serious conversation then.
thing.
Oh, so you're upset about that as well?
Of course I am. I'm not blaming someone. This is a family question. Why not Black you're going to do better if your parents stay at home and take care of you until you leave home? It's just a fact.
How are you supposed to do that when you work a low-income job and you don't have child?
This is so fucking racist. Don't you know all Black people work low-income jobs? All Black people have 17 jobs and ride the bus to get there.
Right.
Okay.
Well, it's really tough, which is why we need to address that. Absolutely.
But that's what we just talked about.
Of course we do, and that's important.
Not every Black person can have a job where they make $5,000.
No, see,
calling people racist at dinner.
Yeah, that's the answer, John. Every Black mother who's single parent can't charge someone $5,000 to call them racist over dinner. Okay, that's not a feasible solution here.
I feel bad because they are shuttling a lot of these people into diversity and inclusion jobs, which I'm like, okay, well, that's fucking terrible.
Yeah, there was
maybe become an electrician.
We found out on Sunday one of the writers, not surprisingly, for Jon Stewart's staff is a young Black woman whose previous job was being a diversity and inclusion, equity and inclusion fucking
officer.
Manager. Officer at some company somewhere. And it's like, talk about shuttling people into just dead-end jobs that aren't going to be there in a couple of years to just die and to create no actual job experience going forward in the future.
I've got a lot of jobs through other jobs. If your job is going around the company calling every single person racist, I don't think that's going to open up a lot of other job opportunities for you.
Right.
I feel like you're going to be hated.
I would spend more on that. I'd spend more on schooling. I would spend more on childcare. But I do not think you can dismiss culture.
So Andrew's response here should be, if I was in Andrew's position, I'd say, listen, John, I'm all in favor of spending more money on childcare and education and helping people out of poverty. I'm all for that. But when you come at me and you come at the rest of America and you label us as white supremacists and you want to reduce this problem that affects all lower income people in our country, who, by the way, are majority white because of the way population breaks down. If you want to reduce that to just be a race issue where you say white people bad, black people good, you're not going to get any support for your policies. And you're just going to galvanize everyone against you. So how about you wake the fuck up and throw this race garbage, this race baiting garbage in the trash can and actually work for what people in society want.
Yeah, brilliant. That would be a much better response. It would be. He probably made that response and they edited it out.
They edited it out, yeah.
The point that I'm getting to, Andrew, which I think you've been dodging around. What do you mean?
Look, he could accuse him of dodging right there.
Yes.
He's answering everything. Jon Stewart is a piece of shit. A fucking piece of shit.
By
He
culture.
was so disgusting.
I mean, a culture in which the family unit is not as strong as it might be, and in which the sense of making it in
why
America
is it not as
regarded
strong
something
as
that
it might
not
be? You're not talking
And that's, I
about
think, the source
everybody.
of a lot of our problems.
You're talking about
I
black
am,
people.
but
The only answer he will accept is white supremacy, which is just, it's a failed fucking endeavor to begin with. You're just trying to fucking gotcha him.
Even if it was originally the fault of some intentional white supremacy, okay? What does that mean for doing something right now?
Yes, yeah. You run into the same problem you just articulated.
Why do you think you seem to feel like somehow black culture is uniquely destructive to family? Why?
I don't.
Oh, that's such a fucking evil mischaracterization. Jon Stewart is a piece of shit officially. Jon Stewart is on my shit list. I'm putting him right up there with fucking Richard Spencer, man. Jon Stewart is a fucking racist piece of shit.
I don't, to be honest with you, I'm just telling you that's what is the truth. The 30%
Look at this. Look at this. They totally fucking cornered him.
Yeah.
Andrew Sullivan, I don't think Andrew Sullivan has a racist bone in his body, and they're totally making him out to be a racist piece of shit. And this fucking fat ass is laughing about it. Oh, look, we got another one. We're calling him racist. Let's cancel him. Woo, woo, woo. Pies for everyone.
born out of wedlock. It's only born out of wedlock. I mean, it's a complicated question.
Well, that's why I'm asking you to explain it.
They're like, oh, look, he wants to go to race and IQ. Like, he's going to go to race and IQ next. Watch.
If you guys are ever in a situation, just be like, listen, as he said, if it's a complicated question, it's fine. It's a complicated question. And I don't know the answer to it, but I do know one thing. I know that you calling me a fucking racist, you calling every white person a racist who partakes in a white supremacist society is not the solution to the problem. And it's not going to fix anything.
Yeah.
Except getting you another $5,000 for some more pies. That's all it's going to solve.
Well, that's all she cares about solving anyway. That's why this is so detestable to me, and I'm sure you too. It's just, like, fucking, I want to solve the problem. You think we want to be talking about this shit? We don't want to be talking about this shit. The only reason we're talking about this shit is because you're creating a problem so that you can benefit from it politically and economically. And it's a fucking piece of, you're pieces of shit for doing it. And now Jon Stewart is contributing to that, which is completely demoralizing.
Tell me.
It's also a function of, well, I think it's a function of social conservatism losing its grip in African American communities. In the 1930s, the family retention rate, the marriage rate.
Look at her just fucking, oh, we're going back to religion. I told you. These pieces of shit. These it's so infuriating because they're so smug and ignorant at the same time.
Right.
It was, I think, in the 80s, 80%. If it was 80% in Harlem in 1928, and it's only 30% now, we need to get it back to where it was, to have a better chance for kids, for black kids to.
Look at her, just her facial expressions trigger me so much, Sitch. I can't help it.
And that is the question that you're going to have to answer. If you're going to lay the blame at the feet of just white supremacy, then explain it. How come in a time that was explicitly more white supremacists, marriage rates were
doing
different?
better? Yeah.
In terms of marriage rates, anyway.
Yeah.
Like,
they don't
there's
have
obviously some other factor that's going on here that has to be addressed.
All they have is eye rolls.
Right.
To succeed.
Because look, Jon Stewart's like he's coping a feel on his desk here.
And she's just, I mean, she's signaling to Jon, this is how you should feel. This is exactly, you're seeing it right here. This is the expression that Jada was making to Will Smith last night at the Oscars after that Chris Rock joke. And Will Smith is like, I know. Now I have to go punch somebody. Jesus. Jesus. Yeah. Only Jon Stewart is such a cuck because he's doing it for this fucking fat bimbo that just walked in his studio, not even his wife.
That's what I'm talking about.
Because you care about black kids.
Look at that. Oh, I care about black kids so much. You obviously don't care about black kids.
You're just a racist, Andrew.
This is what's infuriating to me because black kids are like a human shield for this fat lady. And she's so fucking fat, she needs like 25 of them as human shields.
This is, remember, what was it? There's like from like season 1 of South Park. I forgot her name. There was like this lady who would do all this stuff for like send money to starving children in Africa. But she was like really fat. So in South Park, they had like whenever people would send money to African starving kids, she would just take it all and buy all the food and eat it herself.
Oh, no way.
You don't remember this?
I don't know, but that's hilarious. This is that they act like they care about their own
Starvin'
ignorance.
Marvin, that was the kid's name.
Their own ignorance contributes to this problem. They don't care about
Starvin'
solving
Marvin.
the problem. God, this is so infuriating. We have like we could solve these problems. It's so infuriating because there are solutions to these problems that we'll never be able to implement because of this culture war nonsense. Because of these eye rolls and these $5,000 dinners, and we just need to talk about it, and these sociology degrees and these diversity and inclusion officers, and just everything we're doing is incorrect.
Thank you,
we'll
Chad.
look into
Sally Struthers, that was her name.
Who cares? Come on.
I care.
And we'll get there, but people in those communities want a better quality of life. Whatever we have to do to get there for them to attain quality of life. It's not about broken marriage, it's about how do we get people to have the quality of life that we all as Americans deserve. I think that we can all agree on.
Yeah, sure.
And what
That's the end
a
of the
wonderful moment of kumbaya.
Let's see if they call him racist one last time.
I've appreciated everyone
Yeah.
taking the time to do this. Boy, has it pointed out some fault lines in we've got to recalibrate and find a way.
Yeah, you need to stop being a fucking racist piece of
open
shit.
to all different stripes of white people in the conversation, whether they be people who study it, people who spend their lives trying to change it, or people who are very upset about having to do that.
What a scumbag!
I know.
Oh my God.
Yeah. He totally just got down on his knees and started sucking off fatso so he could fucking throw an insult at Andrew Sullivan.
The thing that got Andrew upset in the first place that he disagreed with was calling him a racist.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is even what, Fatso said in the beginning. She literally said, our white supremacist society does a good job teaching people that being racist is bad. Okay. That was the insane doublethink that came out of her mouth, in the brief moment she wasn't shoving some food into it. And that is indicative of why she's wrong and everything that they're saying is batshit crazy and backwards.
Yeah.
Okay. The reason Andrew's so mad is because he's being labeled a racist. He's being labeled a white supremacist, which shows that our society is done a good job saying that you don't want to be racist.
Yeah.
You don't want to be a white supremacist. It literally destroys the entire argument. And now we live in backwards world where they get to say, oh, this word that we demonize and stigmatize, calling you racist for so long, now you have to just accept it. You have to bend over and take it.
Yeah. You have to wear the label, and I'm going to fucking shove it in your face right here at the end of my show. I'm going to make sure everyone knows that you are the one standing in the way of finally ending racism once and for all.
Right.
What a fucking dick.
Thank you very much, Andrew Sullivan, Lisa.
Look, he can't believe it.
All right, we'll be right back.
All right. That's it.
This is
That's
the
a wrap.
problem with Jon Stewart.
Yeah, Jon Stewart.
That's the most apt thing ever.
Jon Stewart, is the problem.
Yes.
Yes.
This is truly despicable.
Hi, you just listened to a clip from the Sitch and Adams show. If you like what you heard, you can listen to our live show right here on this channel on Sunday, starting at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. And if you want, you can super chat us. We read $20 and up super chats on the show and then do a follow-up stream on the following Tuesday where we read the rest of the unread super chats and interact with fans of the show. Subscribe to this channel right here to listen to the live show or to listen to more of our awesome clips.